right? You'll be surprised how I get them from here to here.
Wow.
Now, how does that relate to you in your profession?
Yeah,
those first 3 or 4 things.
So first off, I love the fact that you said you will throw the apology out to a suspect and to a witness and to a victim, right? Like, and it goes kind of full circle to what you're saying is just showing empathy and respect to everyone.
Everybody.
Right? Everyone you meet. So first couple things that came to my mind when I'm thinking about this as a salesperson and you're going through this lens point is, first and foremost, what is your appearance when somebody walks in your office? Right? Like, and I'm not just talking about your clothing. I'm talking about your energy. People pick up on energy, right? If you're a negative person, if you're one of those salespeople that just hates the fact that you got to be there, people feel it and nobody wants to buy from that person. Right. And I think it translates perfectly to being a police officer, right? There's police officers just having a long day. Right. Like the last thing they want to do is do a traffic stop. Right. And so I think one, you gotta be cognizant.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
The one. Of your energy and of your demeanor. Right. The second thing I think when you were talking about that is almost get the bad out, right? Like you said, apologize for these things. Right. And so one of the things I used to say when I was on the sales floor, especially on the weekend, is I would look at people, they'd walk into my office and I'd go, man, there must be something at your house that you really hate for you to get bothered by a sales guy on a Saturday. Yeah. Right. It just knocks down that kind of barrier that we all know is there. Right. If I tell you, hey, I'm in sales, people immediately assume maybe dishonest, trying to get my money only after a commission check. Right. So don't be afraid as a salesperson to just look at somebody and have a quick joke or kind of, say, hey, listen, I know I'm a sales guy, but I'm here to help you. Sure. Absolutely. Right. And so those are some of the first things that came to mind on that. But, Jon, at the end of the day, what I'm hearing from you is when you walk into a situation with somebody, the first thing that's most important is to remember that person deserves respect. Absolutely. They deserve your best. Sure. Right. And if you can't give those things, then maybe you just need to take a break. Absolutely. You need to know when to step out. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's really awesome. I appreciate you saying that. So the second question that kind of leads us right into that is, how do you build trust so quickly? Right. Like you were just talking about people in a tenth of a second have an idea of you as a person, or at least they have what they think of you as a person. Right. As a salesperson, I know this is one of the major things that you're going to face in whatever industry you're in. Yeah. And as a police officer, probably even more. Right. So what are some things that you picked up in your career that helped you build trust quickly with people for them to trust you enough to just open up?
So here's where it's going to align, my world and your world. One of the first things that I think is so important is not talking about the crime at first. Now, let's just talk about criminal suspects. We're not talking about victims and witnesses just yet. Let's just talk. Well, yeah, we can. We can talk about victims and witnesses, right? If they're willing to talk. If I can sit down with somebody and talk about things other than the crime, think about this for a second. Let's do a criminal suspect, a guilty criminal suspect here. Sure. Their anxiety is through the roof. Oh, yeah. Why is their anxiety through the roof? Well, they could go to jail. They could go to prison. They could lose their job. Their husband, their wife might find out what they did. Maybe their family. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they have a moral conscience and they truly feel bad about what they did. Sure. So from here to here, their resistance level is through the roof. If I walk into the room and I made this mistake where I walked into the room and said, all right, we got to talk about what you did last night. Yeah. Immediately, I'm met with resistance. So through taking different courses, I have a good friend of mine who I worked with for many years. And I remember him telling me once, if you're not having a conversation with somebody for 45 minutes before you dive into the crime, you're doing something wrong, right? And so, and I couldn't agree with him more. And I've worked with him on so many cases in the past. We just developed this habit of just talking to folks. And so remember, their resistance level is here. And if I sit down and I walk right in and I go, listen, we're going to talk about what you did last night. Talk to me, tell me what you did. Immediately, I'm met with resistance. But if I sit down and just start talking about anything other than the crime, if I just go shoot the shit with somebody for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, they go from here to here, and then they start to trust me. And what's even better is as we're talking, I'm learning about that person.
So good.
I'm learning, right? It's the same thing in your world. Yeah. You're learning about that person. You're learning what makes them tick. For me, I'm learning maybe why they did what they did. Yeah. And for me, a big, huge portion of conducting an interrogation is finding out the why. Not you did it, but talk to me about why you did this, right? And so how do I find out why they did this? I talk to them. about their interests, what they're into. Maybe they're having financial issues I'm not aware of, that I wouldn't be aware of if I didn't just talk to them, right? Maybe if it's a domestic violence type situation, maybe the other spouse cheated on and it drove them to do something they normally wouldn't do.
So good.
I wouldn't learn that if I just walked in there and said, "Tell me what you did," and I start barking orders. I'm not going to learn anything, right? So I truly believe that that's twofold. Number one, I learn about them, but number two, it really does bring their resistance from here to here. Because what happens if you and I are having a conversation when we first met? When you first, hey, I'm dating your daughter. Okay, I'm dating my daughter.
Scariest moment of my life.
And if I just walked in there and said, "Well, tell me," and I start, wanting to know this about you. No, we sat down, we had a conversation. We talked about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you broke me down. Just absolutely broke me down.
But we learned about each other.
Yes,
right?
We did.
And by the time the hour was up, your resistance level may have been, or maybe not resistance, but your anxiety.
Yeah.
From here to here, because
100%.
you felt very comfortable.
Yes.
Right to the next, and then of course, and then I got to slide in and go, "All right, so how are you going to take care of my daughter?"
That's right. That's right.
Break you down, right? But that's how it works. And so, if I walk into, and I've done this, I've made that mistake several times, where I walk right into the room, "Tell me what you did," and then we're just butting heads.
Yeah.
I sit down and take an interest, and I just talk to them about. It doesn't matter anything else but the crime. I really find it brings them from here to here. Right. And that's just one way I build rapport. Plus, I'm learning about them. Now, when I think about your world, I'll give you an example. If I walk into one of the things, a scary thing for a person to go in and buy a new car, right? Especially with an aggressive car dealership. You walk in there, you got 3 or 4 guys bum rushing you.
That's true.
And that's, to me, just a bad tactic, because me, personally, I'd leave and go somewhere else. But you get 3 or 4 guys bum rushing you. "How can I help you today?" And you can tell, that they all want that commission. So they're all coming at you. Man, have a conversation with me. My son and I bought a boat last year. We went out shopping, and the guy that hooked me, and I know what he did. Right, yeah. I knew what he was doing. Every time he walked away, my son was like, "Yeah, he's doing it, Dad. He's doing it."
He's got your technique.
The guy talked to me. He wanted to know. One of the things that he kept asking me was, he goes, "So you work homicide?" Yeah. He goes, "Man, tell me about a case." And he's asking me about cases, and he's asking me about this, that, and the other. We went to 3 or 4 different boat places. That's the guy I bought from. And I said, even if he doesn't have my boat, I'll wait for my boat to come in, because I like that guy.
Wow.
What did he do?
Wow.
He wanted to hear about me. He wanted to talk about anything other than the sale.
Let me stop you real quick. So in today's market, with almost no inventory, every builder struggling, you're also having tons of resales in the market that are going really fast. Jon said something really profound right there, right? He said, even if he doesn't have the boat I want, I'm willing to wait because I want to buy from that guy.
That's true.
Right. So how many of us out there are trying to figure out how to navigate this market right now? But in the reality of it is, are you leaving such an impact on the people walking in your doors that they literally are saying, "You know what, I would like to wait to buy a home from that person because that's the kind of relationship building that they did." Right. So I'll let you continue, but I had to bring that up because that's the market that we're in right now. Right. And so you buy the boat from the guy. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No. That's basically the gist of it. But that's a true story. Like, we went around but I like this guy so much.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to talk about me. He wanted to talk about other things that I was interested in. And guess what? I'm no different. People have egos, right? And they want to talk about themselves, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you sit down with somebody, for me, if I can find something that somebody likes intrinsically, you want to talk about connecting with somebody intrinsically. Like, what's intrinsic to people? Their family. Maybe they're the first one to graduate college. Maybe an upcoming wedding. Maybe their first child, right? If you can find something intrinsic about somebody and then have that conversation and flip the conversation to that, number one, they get to talk about themselves, which people like to do. Number two, they're talking about something that means something. It's more than just maybe what sports team you like or this new tattoo you got. And some tattoos are intrinsic as well because they mean something. But it's more than just the material things.
Right.
It's intrinsic. And if you can connect with somebody on an intrinsic level and get their interest and get them talking about something that is intrinsic to them, forget it, man. You want to talk about building rapport and connecting with somebody? Yes. That's huge.
Yeah, so one of the things I say a lot of times when I'm with my team or on my training videos that I've released is take your time and welcome and rapport. So many salespeople rush right into what's the problem? Why are you here? Right? Yeah. And Jon, at the beginning, you said, talk about anything other than the case.
Sure.
As salespeople, don't be afraid to not lead in with what brings you out looking for a new car today? What brings you out looking for a new house today? Right? Like these are good open-ended questions to get people talking.
Right.
What if somebody walked in your door and you just were relaxed and you said, "Hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah.
How are you?
Right.
Right? Like really disarming. So
Right.
this is kind of funny. And I'm not saying that this is like a golden rule here, but something that I did on the sales floor that really helped both me and I believe my buyers with their perception was I talk about the power of the Yeti. Right. I know it sounds crazy, right? But it's the power of a Yeti. I have this huge Yeti tumbler,
Sure.
right, that I would drink all day. And what I found was one day I came out of my office and I just had the Yeti in my hand.
Okay.
And for some reason, I felt more relaxed.
Right.
I think the buyer felt more relaxed. And so it started to hit me. I was just thinking about this. When you go to a party or you go to an event, the guy that's standing in the corner with his hands by his side or in his pockets, that guy's not somebody that's super approachable.
Right. Absolutely not. You're right.
If you got a cocktail in your hand and you're talking to some people, you're relaxed.
Yep.
You're somebody that I want to come up and have a conversation
Absolutely.
with. So if you're a salesperson, maybe you're sitting out there today going, you know what? I kind of struggle in welcome rapport. I struggle building that relationship. Maybe one of the best things you can do is go buy a Yeti and don't be afraid to have these conversations in your mind. Mentally tell yourself, like Jon said, have a conversation about literally anything other than the sale, than the property, than the timeshare, or whatever you're selling.
You know, I gotta stop you for a second.
Yeah.
I love what you just said. The guy that's standing in the corner at the party with his hands in his pocket, he's not very approachable.
No.
Right? It's the same thing. This is why it's amazing how close our worlds are. It's the same thing with a police officer, whether it's a detective or a patrol officer, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. That guy, that one officer who's always got that look on his face, you know, excellent backup. I need him when I'm going through a door, right? I need that dude if we got to rip somebody out of a car. I want him with me right there.
Absolutely.
But he's not an approachable guy. And so he's not an information gatherer. And so in law enforcement, in my opinion, there's, you know, you can be a very well-rounded cop if you are that guy that can get down and dirty when you need to, right? But that you know how to talk to folks and you get that information. And so you have that one guy at the party with his hands in his pocket, you know, and for us, the equivalent would be the unapproachable guy is that cop who's stone face and or no personality and he's a robot. And, you know, but then you got the other guys, the other cops that are really good, can shoot the shit with anybody, can talk, can just kick it with people from all walks of life. Remember what I said, the ability to connect with people, doctors, drug dealers, gangbangers, lawyers. It doesn't matter. If you can talk to people and you can have conversations with anybody, man, it's like that.